EVO 2025 is right around the corner, only a couple of weeks away, so it is time for us to finally talk and speculate about the potential announcements that could happen at the event. And of course I want to know what you want to see, so let me know in the comments which announcement you are expecting the most, and let's talk about every single developer that could be at the event and maybe announce a huge surprise. So let's get into it. And let's start with the big leaks, right? Let's talk about Capcom, arguably one of the biggest fighting game developers out there, and I think that Capcom is going to give us a huge surprise at EVO this year. As I've been talking in this channel, I believe that Capcom vs SNK 3 could potentially be teased at this EVO 2025, and even though it sounds like a fever dream, I really think that it could happen. I'm kind of confident that Capcom is working on a new fighting game and that CVS 3 is highly likely because of all the collaborations with SNK, but of course something else could also happen. Maybe we could get some sort of like Capcom All-Stars 2, you know, like a Capcom vs Capcom game now that they don't have access to the Marvel IP anymore because of Marvel Tokon and ArcSys, or also maybe we could see like a Darkstalkers reboot. I don't know if we're gonna get any of those three, but I truly believe that Capcom is working on something behind the scenes that we are not aware of, and they are making the next big fun game, with Street Fighter 6 of course being developed at the same time. And for SF6, I think that we can maybe get a teaser for Sea Viper. It is possible, even though we just got the gameplay trailer for Sagat, I think that they could still show, you know, the first trailer for Sea Viper. So those are my specific speculations for the Capcom side of the announcements. Then we got another one from the big leaks, and that is ArcSys, who has become such a big developer over the last decade. Like before that they were not as big as this, and they could announce so much. Of course they could show season 5 of Guilty Gear Strive, and also this channel we analyzed the last interview that was done to the producer of GST and how he said openly that they are working on something new and exciting that the fans are not going to be able to predict. So maybe we're gonna get season 5, and as I said on another video, maybe, just maybe, a Marvel guest character on GGST because they now have access to the Marvel rights and IP. So maybe we could see, you know, that big surprise at the event and see some weird guest character at Guilty Gear Strive, but I think that season 5 for GGST is going to be announced for sure. Then we also have the possibility of getting some sort of character showcase for Marvel Tokon, you know, more announcements for different Marvel characters for the game, since ArcSys is doing Marvel Tokon and EVO is a Sony event, you know, and of course Marvel Tokon is also a Sony game. So the chances of seeing something for Tokon are really big. I think that it would be a huge miss from Sony to not show their own game at their own event. It would be super random. And then we have the possibility of maybe getting some news around BlazBlue. I don't know how likely it is because the person that used to do BlazBlue is out of ArcSys. He's not in the company anymore, so I don't know if it's gonna happen, but maybe we could see some sort of teaser for a BlazBlue reboot. And then finally we have Cygames, which is connected to ArcSys in some way of course, and we are probably gonna get some news about more DLC for Granblue Fantasy vs Rising. It is very likely, so I would expect all of those things from the ArcSys front basically, and from the side of that company specifically, with also maybe another announcement for DLC for Under Night 2. I think that those are all the potential options for Arc System Works to make some big surprises. And now we get into the third big name that I believe could show a ton of announcements at EVO 2025, and that is SNK. I think that even though they just showed the Ken trailer, SNK can still show maybe a teaser trailer for Joe Higashi. They could also show some sort of teaser for the Art of Fighting reboot that they said openly last year that they were working on. So maybe we're gonna get, you know, some sort of Art of Fighting news. It could happen. They could also make a joint like announcement with Capcom about CVS 3. So there's a lot of options for SNK to show something or a couple of things, and maybe in a world that is super ahead we could get like a KOF 16 trailer, since they separated the studios. They said that they, you know, separated all the studios when they got more money from like Saudi and stuff, and they made a specific studio for KOF. So maybe KOF 16 is more like advanced than what we think in terms of development, but I wouldn't be so sure about it. I think that what we are gonna get is a Joe Higashi teaser trailer, maybe an Art of Fighting teaser, and in a world in which everything's perfect, we get a CVS 3, you know, joint announcement with Capcom. And now let's move into other big names, but that I believe don't have that much to show in EVO, like maybe one thing they could show. That's why I'm kind of mixing them up. And first we got Bandai. I think that Bandai Namco is just gonna show like an Armor King trailer for Tekken 8. They gotta do it, and of course talk more about balance, you know, since the game is in a very bad state, much better than what it was at the start of Season 2, but they gotta show more work around it. They gotta say to the community they're still working around the balance of the game and give more silver linings to people that play Tekken 8. I literally just played Tekken 8 a couple of years ago for like an entire day because I had the time, and got all the way from like Mighty Ruler to Tekken King with Fracon Ram, and it was super fun. I think that Tekken 8 still has a ton of potential to become an amazing game, a legendary game as an entry in the Tekken series, but they gotta work around all the problems that they have with the balance of the game. So I do think that, you know, an Armor King Tekken trailer could happen, and also some balance news. That's everything that could happen. I don't think that we're gonna get any new game or, you know, a new Soul Calibur. Like, it's not gonna happen. Even if I would love to see a new Soul Calibur, it is not going to happen. Then we also got Warner Brothers and NetherRealm Studios, and I think that we're not gonna get anything from Warner Brothers at EVO. We could get some sort of like secondary trailer for the Mortal Kombat collection. I think that that is the only thing we could get at the event, but we are not gonna get an Injustice 3 announcement at EVO. Like, if NetherRealm is making a next, you know, big thing with Injustice, or maybe another like MK versus DC, or even MK2, that is probably going to be announced at the Game Awards. Like, they have a story about showing their trailers and big reveals at that event. So at EVO, I don't think we're gonna get anything from, you know, Ed Boon and the NetherRealm team, unless they show a specific trailer in which maybe they expose all the secret games that are on the MK collection that they were not showing on the first trailer. That is the only thing that I believe we could get from Warner Brothers and NetherRealm. And then we have an even smaller group, which is kind of like Wildcards, to be honest. I think that from Sega, we could see a Virtua Fighter 6 character reveal. We got the last one a long time ago, and the game's gotta come out, right? Like, the game needs to be out like next year, maybe? So we should probably get more character reveals for Virtua Fighter 6. The game is looking incredible. It's one of my most, you know, like, expected announcements. I really want to see more about VF6. So let's hope that Sega shows something at EVO. Then we also have the chances of getting more announcements for 2XKO and Invincible Versus. I think that 2XKO is gonna show something. Like, the game is supposed to come out later this year, or maybe like early next year if it doesn't get delayed again, of course, because, you know, Riot Games. But I think that 2XKO is gonna show something. Like, the dev team either is gonna show a couple of new characters. They did that the last year, so it's probably gonna happen again. But they said that the roster for launch is gonna be super small, so maybe they're just gonna showcase the full roster and then give us a release date. You know, I think that that is very likely. So 2XKO, they probably gonna show something. And then for Invincible Versus, they gotta show more characters. I think that it's gonna happen. Like, the Invincible Versus team has been super open about their marketing and basically the development of the game. Like, if you go to their social media, they show everything that they're doing very, very openly and transparently. So they are probably gonna show more characters at EVO, taking that spotlight and getting the marketing going. So it's gonna be super fun. And those are kind of like the smaller announcement side, you know, those companies that only have like one or two things to show. And then we have the even wilder Wildcards, which would be maybe getting something from KI. I would love to see something from Microsoft around Killer Instinct, but now with the KI devs making Invincible Versus, I think that KI is officially dead. Like, it's over, the game is done, and it's not gonna get, you know, revived unless they reboot it again, probably. So I think we gotta wait a while for a new KI thing. Even if we get like a collection, it's just still gonna take a ton of time. And then the other thing that could be a super wildcard is the next Samsho game, because SNK said openly that they're working on a Samurai Shodown like action game, so maybe they're gonna show that at EVO. Like, I'm not super sure about it, but those are my ideas of what could happen at the event. There are a ton of potential announcements out there. These are only my ideas. I think that maybe I'm forgetting a couple of devs that I'm not thinking about, but I think that I kind of cover everything that is, you know, more well known and big. So I hope that we see a ton of announcements like the ones I said in the video. It will be super exciting. Let me know in the comments once again what you want to see at EVO 2025. It is always a great time when you see the event and you get a big trailer. So thank you for watching the video. If you can, give it a like, subscribe, it means a ton, and see you on the next video, guys. Hopefully we get a huge EVO 2025.